Okay, good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's okay. Hope everyone is having an enjoyable Tuesday evening, afternoon, I suppose. Um, Thanks everyone for joining us. Hello, everybody in the chat. And for those of you who've been watching, waiting for the last minute before I actually load in, you've got a feeling we're going to talk about meme coins tonight. And I kind of feel obliged to talk about meme coins just because they've dominated, I think, crypto, Twitter, and even YouTube, I suppose, to some extent, for quite a while, certainly for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And to be fair, they've been making some pretty monumental gains. And so, depending on what you're in for, whether you're in for the tech, okay, or in for the money, the question is really, you know, should we be allocating some of our portfolio to meme coins? And is there a future in doing that going into the 2025, hopefully, parabolic run of this bull run? So we're going to have a look at meme coins. We'll obviously cover a little bit of news as well. We'll have a look at Bitcoin's price action today because it's been a wild one again. I think we've probably swung about $3,000 or $4,000 today. We were down, flew up to 67, 68,000, back down to 64 and a half, and then around about 67,000 right now. So interesting day if you've been trading. We'll have a look at what that may have done and where that puts us on the macro and also the sort of, weekly, daily kind of viewpoint. We'll have a look at other altcoins. Got a couple of questions from the chat, and I'll try and send you on your way within the next 60 minutes. So if you do have any questions, throw them into the chat, and I'll get round to having a look at them. But without any further ado, let's just dive straight in. If I can find the right button. There we go. Okay, so Bitcoin, and just sticking on the 3-day time frame at the moment, and I appreciate these trend lines can be drawn better on smaller time frames, but on the 3-day time frame, you've got to kind of say, actually, not looking too bad. We have broken above. Now, we've still got 2 days and 5 hours left, but the previous candle, which closed yesterday, closed above the trend line. And the current candle we've got at the moment has retested back onto the trend line so far, but actually recovered that 2.5 days to go. So let's not get too excited. But things are looking pretty good at the moment. And, without getting into some of the TA initially, what we can also say, oh no, I'll wait for the TA because there is some sort of form of trend that's going on at the moment. When we go on sort of like the daily, that actually stands out even better. But you can kind of see that maybe we are starting to break away from this trend. Maybe this was a W at the bottom, and we're starting to look to have that move back up. Now, we do need a big move up. For me, we kind of need to take out this all-time high, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But the recent move we've had over the last month and a half or so has been relatively positive. And so until that changes, I can't see any reason why we need to be bearish as such. But of course, it's crypto, so things can change pretty swiftly. Casper, on the other hand, wow. So some of you have probably seen the notification that went out earlier. I think Simon has sidestepped most of his Casper, if not all of it at the moment. Hey there, Stuart. You're not too late. Don't worry. And he's not liking what he's seeing. And it's funny, isn't it? Because Casper's been so good to us for the better part of a year. And then suddenly, when everything else is looking well, looking good, looking things like it might be moving up, Casper's gone and shit the bed. He's broken through that trend line. We had it confirmed last week. Yesterday, it's continued its move down. And we're kind of struggling at the moment. And again, other time frames we'll have a look at, but that's the wrong line. If we were to try and draw a horizontal line, I mean, where do we, on the 3-day, realistically, we're probably down here, 10 cents. So there is maybe a decent move down to go. Again, I just have these on the 3-day just because it's easier to squeeze stuff in until we get talking about them later. But not really the best position at the moment. I haven't really done anything with my Casper. I've been thinking about where I want to, what I want to do with it and how I want to treat it going forward. I'll kind of cover my stance on that a little bit later on. And then we got total 3. So everything in the crypto market with the exception of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And again, you know what? I haven't really moved these lines. Yes, they can look tidy. I have to use that tidier. So I have to put out that, warning beforehand. But just on these, which is what we were following beforehand, broke through, retest, moving away. Okay, a little bit of a wobble at the moment, 2.5 days to go. What do I want to see from it? I want to see it break 650 billion, if I'm honest. We got to 640 and we rejected, but I'd say a kind of healthy rejection, really. Back down to the trend line and starting to move away. Again, similar to Bitcoin, which unsurprising, but some sort of W, retest, potentially on the way back up. So again, not guaranteeing what's going to happen tomorrow or even next week, but where things currently stand at the moment, not too bad a picture to be seeing. And then we move on to Tau, and Tau's an interesting one, probably a little bit like Casper, not in the sense of, its position, but just a little bit more confusing than some of the other ones we're looking at. Because again, that sharp move up, consolidation, further move up, but kind of a rejection. And remember, this is the 3-day. Again, I will promise I'll stop saying that. So these wicks aren't great, but that 680, 670 kind of level, clear rejections from those recently. And we will go into this one later on, but, on the 12-hour and below, it looks a lot better. But there's some form of rising compression there. Have we broken through it? Lower time frames will tell us there. But just because of the strength of this move up, if this were to play out, a move down, maybe as low as 500, maybe a little bit lower, could be on the cards. And so I think there's definitely just a bit of a health warning with BitTensor. And it's not necessarily bad project, bad time in the market, anything like that. We just had such a monumental move up. And that can't be underestimated. Just the strength of that move up there. There's some form of exhaustion here. We'll have a look at things like volume and everything else later on. She's kind of tapering off. So it does feel like there's a big move about to come. So again, something that we will look at in a little bit more detail. Just quickly cover some of the news, and I will be quick on this because unfortunately, unfortunately, I chose them. So there's a few news items to get through, but they're kind of all linked to a bit of charting. But let's just be positive. That's the attitude for October, is just be positive on these calls. And ultimately, yesterday we saw $556 million worth of inflows into the Bitcoin ETF in a single day. That is the fourth largest in the entire time we've had the Bitcoin ETF. So suddenly there seems to be quite a lot of demand for Bitcoin ETF at least. And one of the things which I'll move on to, but just to have a look here, it's not just that it was BlackRock, because actually BlackRock got 80 million. We started to see others, Fidelity, Bitwise, ARK even actually starting to put some money in there. Even Grayscale stopped selling for once and actually bought a little bit. So that's really helped to push that up. Back end of last week, we saw $250 million. I don't know what today's is going to be. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But just interesting to see that actually from an institutional point of view, there seems to be some sort of demand for this. Can't believe it's really a price thing. But what is interesting is on Friday, BlackRock had their earnings. Now, I didn't watch it. I didn't go through the notes afterwards, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I did. But I just find it interesting that, after the close on Friday, BlackRock did their earnings, which I believe was a pretty decent earnings call. And then we get to Monday, suddenly there's some demand. But as I said, it wasn't all BlackRock this time, it was others. But I think maybe I have seen over socials, some of the comments that Larry Fink had made about how he feels Bitcoin is, type of asset that it can become on its own and what it could try and rival. Probably just sort of helped institutions sort of garner a little bit more demand yesterday. And hopefully that will look to continue as we go forward there. And it is interesting because on that call, the way he spoke about Bitcoin, certainly from the sound bites that I've heard, was incredibly positive. Now, hey, BlackRock are the largest owner of Bitcoin, company-wise, out there. So it's unsurprising that they were going to talk about it anything but positivity. But you got to remember that Q1 earnings call probably wasn't really talking about the ETF, because that would have been about, the earnings call they did at the end of Q1 would have been about the Q4 stuff. And so we've actually only really probably had one iteration or one earnings call from BlackRock to really talk about the Bitcoin ETFs prior to the one on Friday. So no surprise that actually of the hour-long conversation, quite a bit of the time was spent talking about this fantastic asset that we believe in and hopefully we're all going to make some money from. And it's just positive again to see reinforcement, Larry Fink, BlackRock support of where this is going. Whether or not you think that this is going to dilute what Bitcoin should be and how it's going to do, hey, if you're in it for the tech, fair enough on that. If you're in it for the money, this is certainly going to help. It might reduce volatility in the longer term, but ultimately this is what we need to help drive that price up. And in the short term, this is the kind of thing we need actually to drive that price beyond 73,000, getting that new all-time high and the second leg of this parabolic run. Now, we went over a presentation that Simon presented in last week's call where we talked about a lot of this. So I'm not going to run through it all, but again, they've sort of pulled all that information together in a little friendly pack they can hand out to their investors and go, look, this is how fantastic we think it is. So very useful to see. This was the earnings report. I opened it up just to see if there was anything particularly in there. There wasn't. So don't worry about that one too much unless you're really into it. He did actually make an interesting comment that he sort of said, hey, doesn't matter who's the president for the United States. It's not going to actually make that much of a difference for Bitcoin. And I think that's probably a fair assessment. Polls are kind of moving away from Kamala Harris. We know that President Trump is more favorable on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But that being said, Kamala Harris has recently come out and sort of stated that she would be looking at how to safeguard investors, not just from a criminal and regulation point of view, but also from some sort of tax benefits. Now, maybe that's just sort of a one-liner that you throw out there, and that just needs to be explored further. But I don't think ultimately it really matters. I think where we will get the problem is on whoever goes in, how they treat the overall economy. And we kind of know that everything's linked to that. I'm not going to rehash that kind of conversation because we're here for another 10 minutes on stuff that you already kind of know about. So it was an interesting time, and I just think it's been quite interesting. I actually am looking forward to probably a bit of an aggressive term, but interested to see how the ETFs lined up today, especially with today's price action, with where that's going. Moving on to some other news things then, let's talk about memes slightly, because suddenly they have been taking over and you can't really get anywhere without it. And it all kind of stemmed, I think anyway, from a Bitcoin or a crypto conference in Singapore earlier last month called Token 2049. And a gentleman, Murad, can't remember his surname off the top of my head right now, kind of spoke up, gave a very, I think, insightful conversation about the future of meme coins. And whether you love or hate meme coins, whether you think they have any utility or you just think that they are a complete and utter gamble, some of the information that was provided in that was quite compelling, and it was very retweetable, very sort of engaging on socials in terms of year-to-date performance against a lot of other assets out there. And I think it's just a self-fulfilling hype in which has driven the price and the value of some of these meme coins to astronomical levels. And it is astronomical levels over the past 4 weeks. But is it just that? Is it just hype? Or is there something that was actually in that talk that potentially sort of just struck a nerve with a lot of investors into how they viewed meme coins? Basically, I suppose, from watching it myself, the question was, have I been giving meme coins a bad rep all this time just because I don't like Doge, or just because I never got in and stayed in Pepe, or whatever, and actually, was there some truth within that? And I think we'll go into that in a little bit more in a couple of slides time. But what I do find quite interesting, and I think Bijan put this in the group, so thanks for putting that to my attention there, was search volumes on Google. Now, this is something we used to love 4 years ago in the previous cycle. We'd always comment on, and even the cycle before that, Google search engines for Bitcoin. Where was it? How can we chart that to sort of try and get some sort of idea of sentiment within the market? But actually, what is quite interesting, the article goes on to say it, but spoiler alert here, is Bitcoin Google search volumes are a yearly low. So this is obviously over 5 years, so got to give it a pinch of salt, but we're down here at around about 25, and this is pretty much September. I can't click on this chart and get the interactive line to go with it, but it's pretty much September of this year, down at 25. Whereas if you scroll down and have a look at meme coins, they were at 45, but actually they were predicting that this month it was going to go to an all-time high in terms of the terminology for meme coins. And so there's definitely an interest. Something has sparked an interest within retail to getting within that. And I think the reality of it has to be, that most of retail are not in this for the tech. And actually, we kid ourselves when we talk about some altcoins. And I hasten to say some altcoins because there are altcoins out there that have genuine utility, as in day one, right now, utility, which can be used, is beneficial. And there is a genuine reason why that project should have a token associated with it. So, but a lot of altcoins don't. And so when we kind of hide ourselves behind what's the utility and everything else, really, the utility doesn't necessarily matter, or it doesn't fit within the timelines of where we're going. And I think certainly what came out of that talk and sort of what people have cottoned onto, or at least latched onto over the last few weeks, is that meme coins offer you that varying, sorry, that was a bit of a shout there, apologies there, a variation to utility, but some form of utility. But at the same time, a genuine opportunity to realize, some real significant returns over the short period. Now, this is the video. This is the talk at the conference. I highly recommend you watch it, even if you don't give a toss about meme coins, because I watched it, and I'll be honest with you, it completely changed my view, not necessarily on meme coins, but on altcoins, just from watching one 20-minute video. So if what I'm saying either annoys you because I think I'm an idiot, or it resonates with you and you want to have some more, I would highly recommend putting this on, throw your phone away, don't distract yourself with a chart, and just watch and listen to what this guy says. It's only 20 minutes long. And then just make an assessment of where it is. I'll post this in the chat for a link. It's actually already been put in Discord beforehand, but it's definitely worth a look. And some of the key things that come out of this for me is the amount of utility there actually is within meme coins is incredibly interesting. But the other side of things, which, I've done plenty of research videos in here. I've talked about projects, altcoin projects that I've really got behind and believed in. But this has kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to where is that utility based on this cycle? Where is that utility based on their roadmap? And ultimately, tokenomics play a massive part, I think. Something that I think I just was... I kind of knew to sort of skirt away from things that were, heavily directed towards the team and VCs and everything else. But actually, when you see where meme coins sit, and the vast majority of meme coins, they're already 100% out there. Or if they're not 100%, they're 90% out there. So there's no team behind it waiting to necessarily dump on you. Yes, of course, there are still going to be bag holders with big wallets that got in early, but there's ways in terms in which you can try and mitigate that risk. You're not looking at lockup schedules and vesting schedules in which you, or us as in retail, are effectively their exit liquidity when they get to their end of their vesting period. So it was a really interesting take into how that went. And I can't lie, it genuinely got me intrigued as to where we sit with this. Now, what I did then find interesting is, since that came out, is Zach XBT, who's someone we talked about on these calls quite a bit. He's a bit of a, I don't know, crypto sleuth, detective, whatever. He helps uncover a lot of scams and everything else. He actually spent quite a bit of time delving in and identified, maybe not every single one, but a lot of Murad's wallets, which initially people were quite skeptical about. And the day it came out, a lot of the tokens that he's behind actually dropped in value initially. But when people started going into it, what did it actually show? It showed that this guy bought a lot of the tokens that he's been shilling months and months ago and never sold them. So yeah, I don't think it was necessarily too bad. And actually now we just know some, if not all, of the wallets he's at, so we can kind of keep him accountable, whether or not he decides he's going to be selling it, etc. But I want to kind of get into just some of the numbers, because I think this is what kind of caught my eye with where things are going. There's a part in that presentation, and it's a little bit dated because the data that he uses is based from the 10th of September. And I can assure you, this I think this talk was on the 18th of September. It might be a little bit earlier. But a lot of these tokens have 7, 8, 9, 10x since that talk alone. Some of them have 75x'd. So the data's not quite right. But one of the things he talks about is just how dominant the performance of meme coins have been year to date against most other asset classes. And so I've kind of just done a watch list here. I've just tried to find as many memes as I could find, sort of top 300. And then I picked a couple of other ones that people had mentioned to me in chat. And if you just have a look at the year to date, and I just click this on, just look at this. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin falls down here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 in front of Bitcoin. But it's actually not, because First Nero on Ethereum should be up there. Gigachad should be up there. Apu should be up there. Probably best not saying that name, but that one down there. Tardio, I think we'll just call that. That one should be up there as well, and the other ones don't have a year to date. So actually, the only meme that I could find, and trust me, there were a hell of a lot more in the top 300, but the ones that I identified that hasn't performed as well as Bitcoin is Dogecoin, which ironically enough is almost beyond a meme now, just given the size of it. But look at some of these figures in year to date. 16,000%, 9,000%, 4,500, just under 3,000, 16,000. Hell, if we look at the last 30 days, this is obviously, it's been about a month since that presentation. 5,000, 2,500, 800, 700, 300, some incredible numbers again. And then Bitcoin right down here at 11%. So whether or not we buy into the idea behind meme coins, or whether or not we are completely sold on those, what we can say is they have done very well. Not only in the short term, last 7 days, still looking pretty good. Now, interestingly, last 24 hours, they have actually had some pullbacks, some double figure pullbacks as well. But we'll have a look at some charting in a moment. But 7 days and 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and year to date, all done fantastic. And so anyone that has been holding some of these meme coins for, 2-3 months will have seen some amazing returns on very small initial investments. And I don't really want to go into it in now, because it's not how I believed meme coin trading necessarily was. Going on Deck Screener, just finding something new, throwing $50 in it, closing it down, coming back in a month's time or whatever. That's actually not how Murad goes into talking about this. And I'm kind of thinking whether or not that's an interesting topic for another call later on to kind of go through it all. But ultimately, one of the biggest things that he looks for is cultiness. He is looking for a cult. He's not afraid of being a cult. Bitcoin's a cult. You look at XRP and ADA, they're both cults. Look how well they did. Because the thing about a cult is you have got, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, depending on how successful you are, of diamond hand holders. Yes, I hate to use that term. Not willing to sell their bags initially, but are also willing to just talk about, promote, and do everything else for a project. I was going to say a token, but a project in which one of its key things is just the fact that it is a token. It's got nothing else. We're not trying to reinvent the world with anything here. It is just something that people can get behind, have that sense of belonging within there. Yes, make some money from it. So that cultiness, to be careful what I say there, is what drives that through. Now, you could say, well, Harry, you just handpicked the meme coins. Give me some other kind of exposure to the wider markets. I can't do it on CoinMarketCap. You can only see the top 100. But if we go on to CoinGecko, you can actually filter to just off the top 300. And so I can only do 30 days, but this is the top 300. You can just scroll down. There's a whole range of different tokens here. But I've actually just aligned it so that it's the highest growth over the top 30 days. And look at this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The first 8 of the last 30 days, all meme coins. 9's not, 10 is, 11 is, 12's not, 13 is, then what's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is, then there's good old BitTensor, then there's a Trump one and Popcat, and in the top 30, I think I counted earlier, 19 of the top 30 tokens of all meme coins, and they've all grown in the last 30 days. So whether you got in for the first time in 30 days ago, chances are you would have outperformed any other token that you could have considered to be in. And let's face it, our biggest baby, if you will, BitTensor, doing all right, 19th biggest mover, the top 300. Oh, what have I done there? Reset it. Let's just do that again. Where does Bitcoin fit on this? It's down at about 100. Oh, that's fine. Look at that. Just have to wait. It's not going to reload now, but it is. It's just taking its time. Yeah, Bitcoin, when you do the exact same, is actually down somewhere at about 100. There we go. Bitcoin down here. Yeah, it's about a third of the way down there. So I'm pleasantly surprised with how things have gone. What's this one here for? Oh, and then we have a look at the actual sort of market itself, and I'm quite surprised because it's actually only, everything all told, is only a $53 billion market cap. So that's about 1/12 of the overall market outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. But actually, you look at, I know you can take the first 10 maybe, and that's 26, 30, 35, 36. So 36 billion is from the top 10. A lot of these ones have been around for a while, and they're not the ones that I'm talking about that have moved significantly in the past. We already said that Dogecoin is something that's actually underperformed in Bitcoin. Shiba, Pepe have done better than Bitcoin, but not stellar this year. But what surprised me is CoinMarketCap only calculate that at 3,000 meme coins are available. Now, I read somewhere that there are over 5,000 meme coins being generated every single day. So I'm sure Dex Screener would probably have a completely different view onto the amount of meme coins that there are out there. But I've just found that quite fascinating. If we have a look at some of the charts, so I put it on the linear just to try and sort of emphasize the point here. So this one, the ticker is Bitcoin. It's actually called Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu, I think, top of my head. Yeah, there it is at the top. Again, so we have a look. 15th, it was at 8 cents. I mean, it peaked today at just under 40, so 5x in a couple of weeks there. Gigasol, I mean, look at that. It only was around in March, well, on CoinMarketCap at least. That was 1/10 of a cent. It's now at 4 cents. So that's a 40x even to that position. But since the middle of September, it's a 4x there. These ones don't sound great, but that's in a month, a 4x, not too bad there. Joe has gone from, it's basically a 10x to its current position. Its all-time high was about a 13x. NPC from the beginning of the month was 1 to 3, so about another 4x. Tardo, as we're calling this one, just to be safe, 3 cents, got to 20, so 7x at some stage, but about 5x now. And then SPX 69,000, this is probably the one that has had the most traction. I mean, in September, beginning of September, it was at 1.5 cents. Last week, it got to close over $1 before currently now sitting at about 71 cents. But you can kind of see the move that that some of these have had. And then what's this one? A gently used 2001 Honda Civic. I mean, that one, middle of September, has gone from 0.4 of a cent. So basically about a 10x. It's just under 4 cents now. So these meme coins, they are moving, and all of those ones that I've sort of mentioned there, they have a solid community behind it. They have a good distribution of wallets and sort of holders of the token, and some of them are a lot newer than others. I grant you that, but generally all of them have seen that huge spike up over the last 4 weeks. Now, a lot of them, though, are only just getting back to the levels that we saw in March of earlier this year, when the meme coin summer, more of a spring really took hold. But I'll be honest with you, I decided after watching that video to just put a small amount of everything into all of those, anywhere from about $500 to about $1,000, just to see where things have gone. And I've got to say, without it blowing, totally off, it has been an incredible move. And yeah, I probably maybe should have put a little bit more, but I still believe that this is a high risk side of things. Where I've gone wrong in the past with meme coins is I've generally hopped and moved around, and I've sort of like rode it out for 24 hours and moved into something else. And I think really the reality is that we've seen in previous cycles how well Doge did in 2017 and again in 2021. We've seen how Shiba done. We've seen how well Pepe have done and everything else. And really, it's about trying to position yourselves in, because meme coins do fly. Meme coins do move when the markets go parabolic. Now, there's a hell of a lot more to choose from. So maybe that's why it is a bit of a gamble, because you never know which ones go. But the reality of it is when retail are going to come in, and they will, and when retail come in right at the end, at that really kind of like pent up kind of point where all you see are just, massive $5,000 bars on BTC for a couple of weeks before it crashes. When retail flood in there in that sort of frenzy, they're not going to be bothered about how to stake. They don't care about rebasing DAOs like we saw at the back end of last one, and we got convinced that they did. Or they don't care about what the roadmap's going to be. They just want to be able to emulate the stories that they've heard from their cousin, their their uncle, the taxi driver, the barber, the whatever, about how they knew someone who knew someone who knew someone that got into Gigachad, and it's now at $100 billion market cap or whatever. So they're going to come flooding in and trying to find that. And let's face it, retail are only looking for the absolute quickest of wins. And if they're not going to buy Bitcoin because, Bitcoin's already at a couple 100,000 by then, and it puts the price, scares them off that, I think they're going to be looking at something in which they can just degen into, YOLO into, thinking very little risk, and just watch it go up. And I have to say that memes are probably a play. And I think I probably have looked down on them wrongly for quite some time. And so whilst it is still currently a small portion of my portfolio, I think I'm going to try and hold on to these memes. I don't know if I'll hold on to these exact ones or anything here, but every one of these ones you see here, I now hold. So the Bitcoin, Giga, Joe, MPC, Tardos, as we'll call it, SPX, and used car, I hold some of those. And I'm going to continue to hold those and just see how they run through. Now, what I will say is I think we're at a crossroads with this meme run up at the moment. And I think we need to see some conversion. What I mean by that is memes were running in September when the rest of the market was either falling or stagnant. And that was happening probably off the back of a lot of retweets and social media hype and everything else, and just the fact that memes kind of have their own cycle. But what I want to see, what I would like to see to be convinced that this is still a thing, is meme coins moving when the rest of the market does. And as I mentioned, if we just go to, so I'll just drop it onto the daily. So this is the daily chart of SPX 69,000. We've actually had 2 days of falling. 2.5 if you count it. Actually peaked at $1.10. We're now down at 70 cents. Now, if I was to throw this on another chart with some E&As, I think I can probably do that. So this is on the 12-hour. You can kind of see it's moved up quite nicely along that 10 EMA. We've seen those retraces back to even the 20. So I could see this is now on a logarithmic chart, but I could realistically see a pullback either to that level or even the 50 EMA. 50 EMA on the 12 hours down at 40 cents, which will feel like a hell of a drop. But those drops have happened in the past. Those run-ups and those huge drops have occurred before. And I think you kind of need those to, people take their profits, money comes down, but then it continues to make new highs. And how I've been looking at trying to identify memes, ones that are old enough. So I put this in Discord. So I'm looking for memes that are, plus 6 months old, that have had all-time highs, large sell-offs. So all-time highs plus sells. God, I really should have used the pen for this. But then have made further all-time highs afterwards, to just prove that, people are buying into it. Some are selling off, but actually what you've still got is those core cults, if you will, that are willing to scoop up and buy more during those periods. And as long as that continues, then I'm happy to do that. And so, it wouldn't surprise me now to see that sell off. Now, previously, we've seen anywhere from 50 to 60% drops. So if this were, what's 60% drop is down to 40 cents. Let's just clear some of this up so you can see it. So yeah, that's kind of tying in with the 50 EMA, to be perfectly honest with you. And that wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't, given how fast this has moved up. A pullback there. Should that get a good bounce, maybe that's an opportunity for me to try and buy a little bit more, see if this theory continues. But the reality of this is that it's not about trying to get rid of my bag of meme coins next week. It's not about trying to, it's having as much confidence in the meme coins as I do in BitTensor, as I do in NEAR. I'm careful with the ones I say, because I'm probably not going to stick with all of the ones as you've heard me talk about in other calls. And so holding on to this until some point in 2025, when I deem that I feel the cycle is kind of getting there. And with that, we have to ride the rough with the smooth. A lot of these don't have tier 1 listings. A lot of these don't even have tier 2 listings at the moment. Most of them are just being purchased on DEXs. And so, yep, it's always a double-edged sword. We get a Binance listing or something like that. And I got a feeling that some of these, mentioning no names, but this one here that I can't dare pronounce, probably is going to struggle to get listed on something like Coinbase, because I can't imagine they're going to want to advertise a name like that. But yeah, I was going to talk about Popcat. Popcat for me is an interesting one, and I am going to briefly talk about it just because I want to just show you. This was the one that someone pointed out to me that brought my attention. You can clearly see. Let me get an actual arrow here. Large move up, move back down, another move up, move back down. You get the point here, but I'm going to do it again. Large move up, another move down, and then we've had this large move up. So it's proven, it's over 6 months old, it's proven that it's had it. But I mean, even look at it, okay, if you were lucky enough to be in this in February, it was a tenth of a cent. And last week it got to $1.50. But something that Dogecoin and Shiba and everything else have proven to us is that given if you can get behind the right meme will quite easily make a $50 billion market cap. I mean, what is the all-time high for Doge in terms of market cap? Given it's number 8, it's got to be sort of like the all-time market cap. 70 odd billion, it got to 73 billion. So I'm not saying that Popcat is going to replace Doge, but that was a $70 billion market cap when the market was, 3 trillion. We're expecting that the market is going to outperform 3 trillion. Now, of course, that's going to be spread across thousands of altcoins. But if what I'm saying is correct, and that meme coins are likely to perform far better than most other tokens out there, and when I say meme coins, if I'm saying that 99.5% of all altcoins are pretty much useless, 99.999999999 can't even say how many nines it is, meme coins are going to be utterly useless, especially if there's anywhere from 5 to 20,000 altcoins being created every single day. So I understand that, which is why we go back to how we try and identify some of these. But, sorry, my phone's buzzing. Didn't know if it was someone telling me to shut up. But why couldn't this? It's already got a $1.3 billion market cap. And in this, I mean, even a month ago, that was a $400 million market cap. So it's 3x in a month. And so, people would have thought, again, at 40, 50, looking back on it, 50 cents, maybe that's a bad time to get in. But bear in mind, Popcat's circulating supply, it's already all out there. I think it's 1 billion of these tokens. So if it could get to 70 billion, I'm not saying it can, that would mean that each one of those tokens was actually worth $70. I mean, it's crazy to think that a meme coin could be in the teens, but we've already seen it can get to $1.50. Why couldn't a meme coin get into the teens, into the 20s, $50 a meme coin? If it's got, if it's not like Doge, which has 17 quadrillion tokens with its total supply, then it may well actually be able to get that based on its just tokenomics in terms of what's the market cap, how many tokens are circulating. That's it. So don't let that put you off as a reason why it'll never get there. That's for me. That's just naive thinking. I mean, you look at even BitTensor. What did that start off at $20, and we've seen it at almost 800. So these things can happen. I'm not associating BitTensor with a meme before anyone tries to, sanction a hit on me or anything like that. So I have. Oh, where are we going? Nope, that's what I wanted to show you. So this is sort of like a screenshot, if you will, from some of the tokens I was looking at when I started looking at them. So this is from the 15th of September. And just look, the time of that, Gigachad, right? Oh no, where's Popcat? Popcat, 700 million. It's doubled since then. SPX was 30 million in terms of market cap. It currently sits at $660. So it was just interesting how much some of these have actually been able to move. There's a little bit of a reasoning behind why this person identified some of those. And this Murad, he's in SPX 69,000. I think he's in Gigachad, Bitcoin. This one here we don't like to mention. And I can't remember some of the other ones. But yeah, we can just sort of see where it's going. So I'm going to sort of track this, see how they go, where it comes to. I'll sort of try and keep everyone informed on how I've done within it. I think I put in around about $6,000. I think last time I checked it was probably around about 18,000. So a little bit of a 3x at the moment. I did have another one which I sold at a bit of a loss because I wanted to redistribute some stuff, which obviously had a bit of an impact. But yeah, I'll keep everyone going. Chris has put, I made this point before, but if it's generally been dismissed, however, I still believe that meme coins may take up a greater proportion of total market cap and thus reduce the percentage of total market cap of other types of coins. I'm not sure what you mean by that. As in, the overall market cap is, I know, 1.2 trillion, whatever it is at the moment, but there are 72 million meme coins out there, so that's diluting it. You got to just remember that coin market cap only recognizes, so 2.3 trillion, it's got 2.4 million cryptos that it's basing it on, which obviously is a lot of those are going to be meme coins as well. But a lot of these meme coins actually end up with zero value. They either get rugged, have nothing, etc. Oh, sorry. So you put e.g. Tau may not get to the percentage expected. Absolutely. I mean, I for one have not been. I see Tau's journey to 2% as an incredibly difficult journey. I've done those spreadsheets before for everyone to kind of just sort of show, how hard it is to get, even in the top 20, 1% of market cap, and to get 2%. It doesn't sound like it's much, but it's a huge move because you're also having to disrupt those that are above you. I think BNB probably does have, what's BNB? So yeah, well, that's volume. Can I work that out off the top of my head? So it's got 90 billion. I mean, that's under 2%, I think. If its market cap is under 90 billion and we're currently at 2.3 trillion, that's got to be under 2%, because 2% would be, 1% would be, God, the maths is failing me at the moment. 23? 1%? No. Yeah, 1% would be 23. Oh, maybe it's a little bit more. Maybe it is actually over it. Someone can do the maths. But it's going to be hard. I mean, for something like BitTensor to disrupt BNB, given what BNB is, the fact that it didn't die when CZ left, Solana, love it or hate it, it's the thing that people are building meme coins on. So people are using it, people are buying it. It rightly at the moment has its position with its market cap at 72 billion. And so, yeah, Does CoinGecko say it better? What they are? I wonder. No, it doesn't look like it unless there's a percentage here. Okay, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. Keep on looking. I might have a look afterwards. But yeah, Chris, I get the point you're trying to make there in terms of how they could disrupt it. Now, if this person's right, if I suppose if I'm right, and more people move into memes than anything else because they've kind of given up on the idea of waiting for the likes of Polkadot to release Polkadot 2.0 and asymmetric backing and all that kind of stuff, and it's not delivering the returns that they're wanting. They move away from altcoins because they're not interested in that, and they're focused on the memes. The memes are probably going to have a greater chance of climbing faster, which is why when we did look at that chart over the last 30 days, these memes are climbing. These memes are flying through the chart much faster than other things are climbing. Now, there are always going to be outliers. I mean, we've seen BitTensor, perfect example of a very good altcoin, a project that genuinely does deserve to have a token in how it operates itself, and it is delivering something, and it will continue to deliver something. And we saw that flying up the rankings from 40 to about 25 in that move up in September it had. So there will always be those that are there doing that. But yeah, I think if this gets traction, if we continue to see a real focus on some of these tokens like SPX 69,000 and sort of the hype that generates, that will just continue to climb the charts. I mean, it was just in the 300s about 2 weeks ago when I started looking into it. So yeah, that's where we are. Okay, let's move on to something else. That's a bit longer than I thought on that one. I mean, we've got to talk about October, haven't we? Because actually today's price action has kind of given us a bit of hope that we may have finally found October. And I think, let me refresh this one because who knows what's happened. But it's official. It's absolutely 100% official, guys. Market can close, October can close today, a 5.5% uptick. And we'll say that was a green month. October struck again. Thank you very much. I mean, given where we were when we started October, this is actually a hell of a swing. You know, it's probably a 10% swing at the moment. 15 days to go. Let's not get too excited too early, but we are starting to see that positivity back within the market. I mean, I don't like the look of this with fear and greed at 65. Probably going to go a hell of a lot higher tomorrow, but it was at 48 yesterday, nice and neutral, and we've jumped back into 65. It's kind of worrying in itself. But I think people are starting to have that belief at the moment. And the reality behind that, as we look at the Bitcoin chart in a bit more detail here, is us clearing that 66,000, clearing, and we'll have a look at all the other lines at the moment. But clearing that 66,000, we're pretty much at 67,000. And as we can see, this is a 12-hour time frame at the moment. You all know how this chart works. But these liquidation levels, I mean, look what happened today. We had that shoot straight up, took out all of those, long-standing long liquidations, straight up to that fib level, and then we flew. I mean, let's get on the hourly. Look at it. Shot up, took all those out, flew all the way back down, found the bottom, and then we've come back up. And if we actually have a look at this on a smaller time frame, I mean, you were just damned if you did, damned if you didn't in terms of trading today, because, little bit of a false move to start off with I think we got down to about 65,100. Everyone's gotten a bit excited, placed some shorts, market reversed. I was trying to see if there's any news on why it reversed. I don't think there really was. Straight up to 68,000. We took out this entire block here. And so everyone's that's it. It's time to go long. And then what happened? The short sellers, they got a little bit too excited. So the market just reversed back down. Classic manipulation, market maker kind of movements there. And then, just a V reversal from that. So we've had almost a, I don't know what you call that, V reversal twice, I suppose, and almost a W then maybe. And we kind of seen ourselves sitting here. And you know what? People have been stung. This is over a 3 days. So that each of these little things is like, 15 minutes. People are not really wanting to place anything. I mean, there is still a little bit building up right now. I suppose at around about 64.5, and obviously 68 wasn't quite taken. But it's, I think people have been a bit stung trying to play the market. I think just going to wait to see how things close. The other thing, I think yesterday, wasn't it a bank holiday in America? Maybe that had some impact on sort of how quickly this thing moved today. But if we have a look on some of the other time frames, Jeff, I have seen your message. I'll get to that. I mean, what am I on? 12-hour here right now. So this is what I was talking about. We've been in this ranging pattern. Sorry, let me go back to this one first. We've been in this ranging. Oh, that was I put it on the hourly. That's why. Pattern for what? 8-9 months now. Sort of moving in and around here, and it has been lower high after lower low after lower high after lower low. But actually, since August, and it takes a while for us to actually establish this, but we may well have changed the narrative behind that. And if we just go onto this chart here again, it's on the 12-hour, but simply I'll just do it on the closes. There. And even if this closes on this one, which it already has, but we've got 4 hours today, let's take it there. I mean, oops. I think we can safely say after 3 of each that we are, at least in the short term, on a reversal now. The trend has generally changed for the last month and a half, 2 months, and we are in that uptick. Now, the biggest hurdle that we have for that uptick has to be, here we go. Has to be this trend line now, though. So it's all well and good. Now, you can do one of 2 ways. You can do on the daily, so this one here, which we wicked up to hitting this at 68,000, and we've bounced back down. And you can see, even on the daily, that uptrend is still there, but really, 68,000, it's not the Gandalf level, because we actually have to pass this, but that's the level we got to break. Okay, 68,000 is the one we've really got to break. A break of that, remaining above it, forming some sort of base here, and then a move. Give me confidence that we can actually have a real go at 72,000 for that move to all-time highs. How long that takes, I don't necessarily know. But that is, it's a strong level. This is a level. I mean, I'm trying to draw it body to body. It just so happens the last 2 times it hit it, it's wicked up to it, and it's shut straight back down. But what I would say with that is, if you then go onto maybe a higher time frame and you try and do, body to body, you kind of get this. And you can say, well, we've actually kind of already broken through it. Now, the body hasn't, I appreciate, and we've ripped through it a few times. But the battleground, whatever you want to call it, I would say it's from here to 68,000 is the way we need to go. And I can't get too excited. And the reason I can't get too excited is because we've been here a couple of times before, even recently. But when we reject here, what happens? A monster fall, and a monster fall down to, this level here. And that every time we do it, we go from high 60s to low 50s. It just kills us. It kills the market, destroys our altcoin portfolio. And the fear and gloom resides. So I'm obviously delighted with the move that we've seen up here, but call me cynical, but we've been here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times before. So until we break it, I ain't getting too excited. And I'm not planning to do anything. I'm not planning to sell my Bitcoin or anything like that. I'm just watching, waiting to see where this one goes. But yeah, we do have to think that unfortunately a rejection there could well lead down. Now, again, we could reject, and as long as we close above that level, we reject here, come back down, form another base and another attempt at it, fine. We're still in that uptrend that we're talking about, and away we can potentially go. So I think there's definitely some opportunity for us to just sort of catch our breath at this level, build up some support, move up there. Now, whether you're a fan who believes in October or you just think it's sheer coincidence, I suppose it ultimately doesn't really matter. Our only battleground right now, whether it's coincidence or not that it happened to fall in October, is the 68,000, 66.5 to 68,000 level, however you want to draw your line. And then, yeah, we'll take it from there. These are some questions. I'll just quickly have a look at it. Jesper, it's Jeff. Have you seen any issues with Mexi? I don't use Mexi anymore. Not because I don't like the site, not because I can't use it. as I mentioned a couple of times before, from tax point of view, I just find it really difficult to move my data across. And there's nothing that I can't buy on the likes of Qcoin that's on Mexi. So I haven't logged on to Mexi in 6 months, probably. So I'm not too sure. What have we gone to say? Mexi is not supporting in my location any longer. I've been able to click the X and carry on, but today I've seen 2 other UK users say they were unable to log in, get through verification. Because I mean, it would not surprise me. Ultimately, you know, the FCA, and sorry for anyone that's not based in the UK at the moment, but the FCA, they've made it pretty clear that they don't really want us retail, as thickos, to be utilized in crypto, because they're here to try and protect us. So if you know, exchanges are wanting to work with the government, they're going to have to comply with some rules to do that, and some of them may not be able to. And you know, one of the reasons that Bybit, we lost access to Bybit, and in many respects to any new token that's on Binance, was all about when they changed the rules this time last year in terms of how they market and go forward, and Binance and Bybit weren't willing to make those adjustments. So the F said, right, well, stuff you. You know, if you can't make those things, you can't access to it. It may well be that Mexi are having those same problems. I don't know. I don't know if a VPN would work for you. All I know at the moment is I still can utilize most things with Qcoin. But it's a worry, because if I lose that, I really might be struggling with where I can sell some things. And, you know, particularly things like BitTensor, because I can't use Binance because it's a new token for BitTensor. So, yeah, we are a little bit stuck with that at the moment. Looks like there may be access issues now, future with Mexi. I'm not sure if the VPN will help, but anyone that's KYC'd in the UK may struggle. Anyone else experiencing this? Samsung's put turbo tokens going nuts. Is Hoppy and SPX next? Well, SPX has absolutely been flying. Hoppy, I don't know too much about, I'll be honest. But there's so many out there. I think it would be, as I mentioned earlier, logical for SPX to take a bit of a breather, maybe even a sell-off, given that 6 weeks ago it was a cent and it's currently at 70. Some people are going to look to take profits. We're not all totally greedy. Well, depends, but yeah. Cheers, Harry. I may move. I miss Bybit and Binance. Yeah, I mean, you can still use Binance. It's just for legacy tokens. Qcoin has been around for a while, so I don't know what they're doing to appease the likes of the FCA, but for now, it seems to be working. If Mexi just suddenly stopped, though, what I would say is all that will happen is you won't be able to buy anything, and you'll have a certain grace window to be able to remove your tokens from Mexi. Not that you should be keeping them on an exchange anyway. So yeah, it's not like they'll be trapped there, but you just have to keep on checking in on that. And yeah, looking to go elsewhere. I mean, for anyone that's serious about doing their taxes, and I appreciate not everyone is, you may want to just consider how difficult it is to get that information off Mexi. The API doesn't really work. After 30 days, it really struggles to collect any data. So if you don't do this every month, you're going to have to actually manually go through some of your transactions, actually have a look at it, and reach out to support. So just bear that one in mind. Okay, Tim's gone there. Right, I just want to quickly go over some of these. So Reese has put, you posted a chart thread regarding the 50 to 200 to 20 EMA cross on the weekly. And you put here that, so when the 50 crosses back above the 20 on the weekly, historically, that means a major dump for ETH. So this is what you posted in there. I'm assuming the blue is the 50 and the orange is the 20, but I drew these up here. Let's just see what mine are. So blue is the 20 for me, and this is the 50. So what you're saying is the blue line's coming back down. If this crosses over on the red, that normally means we're in sort of a bear market. Well, so I'm on the weekly, as you were. So we had that 20 went across the 50, so that was it here. Yep, we definitely saw a drop there. Other previous occasions. Okay, another one. 20 across the 50. Okay, bear market there. I think that's it. So we've had two. So first and foremost, it's only 2 data points. So, you know, definitely one to keep an eye on. But secondly, we actually haven't crossed yet. Oh, sorry, we had a cross here. We had a cross here. There. There's a little reaction down. This hasn't actually crossed yet, so we don't know where it's going to go. And it is flattening out. Like previously, these really dropped into it, whereas the blue's starting to flatten out rather than steepening. And actually what this kind of looks like to me, if I'm being perfectly honest, get rid of that because I'm going to draw over it. It just looks it's potentially going into an area of chop, like where those EMA lines were there. Particularly, let's redraw that here. You know, it's sort of flattening into this, and so yeah, they might briefly cross, but if the market then decides it's going to move, Ethereum is going to move with it. And as you can see here, when it was flatter, it hasn't had such a big drop. It's only one time it's done that. You've asked for it on the weekly. It's kind of difficult to ascertain as and when that might happen. It's already fallen, which is obviously why the 20's careering towards the 50. But it over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 candles. You know, this candle here closed at 2,500. This candle here is currently at 2,500. So that, 10 candles, that's half of the 20 EMA. That's why it's starting to flatten. And it may well end up doing that. I used to have an indicator that gave me... It's gone. All right. I used to have one that can project where they were going, but it's not there. So I think it's just one to wait and see. I understand what you're saying. With only 2 real data points to go through, both of which were the beginnings of known bear markets or partway through known bear markets. I don't want to comment either way on that one. Alan's asked, can you look at Gamer Arena project? Okay, I did have a very quick look at Gamer Arena project today. So this is a token here, GAU. It's currently around about 10 cents. It's available on Mexi and then a couple of dexes as well. So what is it? What does it do? Well, effectively, this is a project in which if you are into your gaming, but you want to do it competitively and challenge people for money, then you can go to this website, you can set up your challenges, buy their tokens, and winner takes all, or however it's split about, which, okay, kind of sounds good. They claim to have had 400,000 users in the 18 months that they have been going on. They've got a relatively decent following, pretty active on their socials. So there's something there. I think for me, my biggest concern with this is it really needed? And the reason I say that is actually 4 years ago, I'm not saying I was any good, but I used to do a little bit of competitive gaming because we were all bored and stuck in lockdown. So I would go onto websites and find challenges to challenge people on one-on-ones or whatever for money. But we used to settle in pounds and dollars, and that was fine because they were stable. Whereas this is utilizing a token, a volatile token, as the form of payment. And it just feels like this is a crypto project that is just forcing a token down your throat. I don't think you really need it. There are websites out there where you can still go about and do this. I had a quick Google. Most of these you can. I clicked on a few of them. Look, you can go into this one here. I used to do Warzone, kill races, and so you can go in Warzone, have a look at tournaments. I'm sure you can find solos, battle royales as well, prize pools, etc., and go from there. Now, it does seem to offer some coins, but it ultimately offers cash, which is what I think most people would prefer to go down towards. Challenger mode's another one in which you can do it. You can kind of see some of the games that are available there. So I just don't really get why they need to have a token. And speaking of tokenomics, so the token itself is primarily used as a currency to compete and get rewarded in the tournaments. Fine, you need the tokens to join the competitions to prove your skills. When you look at the tokenomics, though, 52% of the tokens is actually owned by the team. So not only are you getting paid in a token which is volatile and subject to market conditions, but you've also got over 50% of it which has been held by the team, developers, early investors, etc., which when their vesting periods are probably going to dump it anyway. So I just feel like, for me, the idea is great. It doesn't really solve anything that's not necessarily out there, but there's obviously a market for it. But if that was something that you were interested in, I would definitely stick to using something that pays in pounds and pence or dollars, wherever you're based, if that's what you're doing. Hey, if I'm wrong on this one, I apologize in advance, but that's just my thoughts on it. John's asked, Runes protocol. Could you go through exactly what they are, how to buy, see more about this now? John, I will go over that with you next week. What I would say is, where can I find it? Give me a second. Give me a second. Funnily enough, back in March, I think it was March, just going into all of my live streams. Try and find it for you. Maybe it was a little bit before March. Sorry, where the hell? Maybe it was last year. I did a whole talk on them. Yep. So May the 16th, 2023. I talked about Ordinals, Ruins, and a few other things that were coming up. I will go over that next week. I'll keep that one on there and just do a quick sort of rundown of it. It's an opportunity for memes on the Bitcoin network for those that are curious as to where it is. There's things like Ordinals and other things there, which is worth just refreshing over. I think since we've been talking about memes, the Bitcoin network is relatively new, and runes are even newer. I think that's like April this year, maybe even earlier. And so there are potential to utilize that going through. So definitely have a look through there. Right, let's just have a look at a few of the other ones. I've seen a couple of other things in the chat, which I'll come back to. I'm just conscious it's already over an hour. So let's just quickly look at BitTensor, because BitTensor's been an interesting one, because we've had that move up, and a lot of us have been drawing this and talking about this one in the chat. This sort of rising compression that we've been seeing, which, rising compressions generally spell some sort of pullback, which obviously we are looking to avoid if we can. So why have I thrown the volume on there? Because the other concern that I have, so we've got this rising compression, which typically means that we will see, maybe a challenge to the apex and then a breakdown. We don't know where. We can have a look at some levels in a moment. The other thing that worries me, because we had such a strong move up, we're now starting to see volume down here. It's tapering off. So we're getting that seller's exhaustion, but the price is going higher, but we're not having as much volume driving that price. And so what we're going to have, we're going to have some form of explosion. That doesn't always mean, because low volume, if you look at it here, the volume tapered off, generally down here, and then we saw it skyrocket back up and the price went up. So it doesn't necessarily mean low volume is automatically going to lead to the price dropping. But at the same time, with the rising compression, it could well be that we actually start to see that move. And we're right on the cusp of something at the moment, which, we've been keeping our eyes on, in that certainly what I like to follow with the 10 and the 20 EMA, plus this, we are 4 hours to go. On the outside of this, I always like to wait for confirmation before we break. If this candle closes like this, I can't call that a confirmation of the breaks. It's just too close to it. But it's got a fairly decent wick to the top, and then some selling pressure from that. And whilst Bitcoin and a few others have been, in the green, and I don't keep many alts to sort of judge them against, Tau was seeing sort of a 5.5% drop today. Now we go down some of those lower time frames, and we can kind of see, let's get rid of volume now. We don't need that. We can kind of see that we can maybe redraw this just to make that a little bit tidier now that we're on a different one. And maybe you can convince yourself that this is still within the realms of the pocket. Fine. That's why we wait for that confirmation, that move down. So you don't really want to do anything here, because again, we've seen it interacting in and around there before rallying back up. We need to wait for that confirmation. But look at this last candle, So we had a green vector candle, but still with a strong wick. Then it's 4 hours, by the way. Then we had the pink candle, again with the strong wick there, but showing against potential selling pressure forming from that one. And then this one here is, it's only 10 minutes old, so okay, I'll ignore that one there. But a lot of these are just suggesting that there does seem to be some selling pressure. And when you look at now some of these EMAs, the 10, the 20, the 50, they're all converging on top of each other, and the selling pressure is coming from around that. Basically from the top of the cloud down. And so I do feel that there is that potential move. I haven't unstaked my Tau at the moment. I haven't actually done anything to sell it because I'm going to wait for the confirmation to see what happens. But where do we think it may go? And this is where we kind of like, what do we really do? You know, what have I done there? Undo. You know, I like to, move my fibs to sort of give us some sort of confirmation. So if we run fibs top to bottom, I'm going to get rid of these lines here because it's going to get confusing. And we have a look. We're actually not near a fib that's broken. So I like to wait normally for something for the fibs to break. But we are seeing that potentially this compression is the thing that breaks us. So where do we really look to go? Well, I mean, the first fib level is decent support. And it's actually at 550. And then by the time I've got confirmation, what's the risk to reward now for a move that is probably likely only going to be $20? Not much. And then it's a case of, well, do I wait for it to break that? There is a better move down here, but we've got this in the way. And so I got to be honest, when I'm looking at risk to reward, is a sidestep, even after a confirmation of the break, the right move? I'm not sure that it is because there's so many things in its way because of where it sits and because of previous price action, fib levels, and the EMAs in which it can turn around. By the time I've got some decent enough confirmation, the risk to reward is just probably not going to be there for me. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind on that, of course. But just going off what I previously used, yeah, I like to see it come down to some of these golden levels. And this one here stands out because it's the base of this. And that's not far. That's $100 move if you had the courage to get out of it now. So yeah, maybe that one would be worth it. But by the time this breaks, I probably needed it to break down to like 580, 570, and I'm wanting this candle to close. So hell, it might go even further than that. But I suppose if it did break that, I knew it was out the compression and didn't get much lower, 575 maybe, I might consider it. It's a $90 move for the way back down, something that I'd probably look to do, but ladder back in from this EMA coming back through. That's probably how I'd look at it. And if we go back onto the 12-hour, probably a bit more room there, 550 and the 50. See, the 550 is lining up with the 50 EMA. So getting through that one could be quite tough. We've seen it bounce through before off that one. So yeah, bit of a difficult one there. Casper, we kind of talked about. I know if some of you joined in that sell earlier, that's not going to have helped this pressure, but ultimately we're in a downtrend. The 10 and the 20 is just its battleground at the moment. And this one has rejected hard off the 20 EMA. Likely another move coming back down. Chris has said 12-hour double top on Tau. Yeah, absolutely. And then if we just get rid of this, let's see what you're looking at there. Obviously, it's like that and that. I mean, what do you do? Diagonal neckline? I don't really like them on double tops, if I'm honest. I don't mind them on head and shoulders, but I'd be looking at a flat neckline. So then what you're looking at, you're kind of looking at this, aren't you? Which again's at 550. We're kind of at the battleground where if you're playing the double top, you're going to have to wait for it to get to that. It drops there. I mean, if you're playing the double top, so I'm throwing lots of different potential things at you here to the neckline. Maybe you see from 550 down to 460, 470, that kind of interacting with this level of price action here. So maybe there's a play to be had that way there, but certainly worth having a look at. Sorry, just going back to Casper. So I'm just thinking about what I want to do with my Casper. Because I sold it at 12 and then I got back in late at 16, 15, 16. So selling it now is going to be selling it at a loss. I'm just wondering if I get a good enough pullback, say using that SPX as an example or some of these other memes, do I sell my Casper and put it into that and see if I can get some better growth once that one recovers through? I think that might well be the play. What I have left of my Polkadot, which is still in unstaking, that is 8 days away from unstaking, so there's a potential there. I think I might sell a further 50% of what's left and move that into Tau or something else. And I'm just looking to try and minimize where I am now with my portfolio. So some of those, I just want to have a look at a few other just things here. I'm conscious that we're an hour and 15 into it, but just Bitcoin dominance, it's made its local all-time high. This cycle's all-time high. 58.7, just surpassing what we saw on Thursday. So that road to 60K 60k, 60% even, still well and truly on. I mean, you could argue there's some sort of compression here. We know the Bitcoin dominance is going to break at some stage. We don't quite know when, but it will, and we expect it to. I mean, if we want to see the likes of Tau get to 2% market cap, Bitcoin needs to drop down to 30, 35% of the overall market cap. So, but we will expect to see that. But yeah, that's where it's going. We've obviously had a good move from Bitcoin today. The rest of the alt market hasn't really followed. I think it's only necessarily a matter of time. If this is like other Octobers, Bitcoin is the first to move, and then what we actually see is we see the altcoins move along with that later on. Let's just get total 3 up. That's probably the better one to use. And if we have a look, you know, October came in, end of the month, and then we still saw a move. If we have an overlay Bitcoin dominance, why don't we use a clean one? It's just a bit messy, that, isn't it? So if we get total 3, get rid of this. We don't need the RSI. I don't even know why I have that one on. Put it on the weekly. BTC. What is dominance? BTC.D, isn't it? There we go. New price scale. Done. We can kind of see. So Bitcoin went up first. Bitcoin dominance went up. It dropped down as altcoins came in. And then look, total 3 came up and Bitcoin dominance started to fall away last year. And then obviously ETFs came and the narrative went back to Bitcoin. But we've seen how that October actually does have that effect there. So if this is what we're expecting to see, I don't see anything different happening this time around there. Just to have a look at where the portfolio currently sits at the moment. So we're almost 50% in Tau, NIR's at 25, DOT's down below 10, CAS at 5.6, Renders at 3.5. And the memes, you know, that's actually moving up pretty fast now, and almost 11% there. Christopher, I believe Israel will hit Iran next few days. Now it's filled its gap in missile defense. Market could drop a bit and possibly more on the Iranian response. Possibly. The cynic in me says it's old news now. You know, if the market doesn't drop every time the Ukraine or Russia hits each other. So the first time it happened, yes. And then the fear that was driven from that, it's amazing, in my opinion, how quickly that kind of stuff gets bored to traders. So whilst I think it could, I think Israel hitting Iran is, they'd have to do something proper, you know, really make a difference, or Iran retaliate and it, you know, it's a really aggressive retaliation, because I just don't think it's shock and awe enough. And now, you know, 3 weeks ago, definitely, but not anymore. And from the business side of things, yeah, still buying the BTC, but oil will be involved. Yeah, okay, I get that. Yep, if they close it, true. Okay, I accept that oil will drive that one. I think that's probably going to be it. I feel like an hour and 20 is quite long for some of these. So, yeah, we'll just leave that one there. I just want to say thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We've got that trading pub on Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock. So I'm sure we'll be able to go into some other alts in a lot more detail. I know there's the gas trade going on at the moment, and there's a Tau trade that's still going on. So we can see how all of those are doing. The Cuddle still, tickets are still available. So end of November, can't remember if it's the 23rd or 29th or whatever it is now, but sometime in November, it'll be the Christmas party one. So please come along. If you've got any questions between now and then as always, just hit me up on Discord, tag me in a direct message, or just in the general chat, and I'll try and get back to them as quick as I can. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone, and I will speak to you all soon. Cheers now.